in a certain direction, but the meta is not necessarily solved yet, so we're definitely going to see a lot of stuff. And of course, speaking of Sabine, looks like we're going to have a Sabine mirror match, a green bean Sabine and a cunning Sabine. It looks like our cunning player starts us off first, playing Sabine turn 1. We do see something that's really common in a green bean list, having the ECL, Energy Conversion Lab, as their base, gives a little extra aggression. It's going to be interesting to see how much value that's going to add to the red-green Sabine's player.
Absolutely. I think the extra 5 HP, it's going to be very interesting in this matchup. So you see that we've got Lauren Miranda on the left. Looks like they did start out with the initiative, so he'll be able to retain the initiative.
This is something that I'm sure we're going to see a lot today. We're going to see a lot of Sabine v. Sabine. We're going to see a lot of Boba v. Boba. And then, of course, we'll probably get some overlap in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like
and something that's really...
The ping for Sabine goes through from Lauren, and then Andrew goes ahead and clears off the Sabine Wren, opening up the ground here.
It's nice that this isn't just a pure mirror match strategy, considering obviously both of these decks are very aggressive in what they want to do. And ECL will give Andrew a little bit more aggression in terms of having the ability to swing with an extra body. But having Lauren's base have 30 health on it is going to allow him to live a little bit longer. So say even if every single turn both of these players activate Sabine, having that extra 5 life could honestly win or lose this game. So I'm very interested to see something a little out of the ordinary.
Absolutely, yes. I really do think that 5 HP is going to go a long way. So we see Leia Organa coming down, and then in response, you've got red 3 on Andrew's side of the board. Andrew is able to claim
He definitely has to deal with that.
Yeah.
He's 100% going to have to deal with that red 3. That's something that's so good about not even just Sabine, but honestly just a lot of the red Rebel decks in general, having access to their space units. Because space units for every other deck, I think they're pretty balanced, and a lot of the time they're bigger guys that cost a little bit more. But with especially the Green Squadron space unit and red 3, of course, with all the X-Wing guys that we have, there's so much aggression, so it's not just the ground unit that you have to deal with in the Rebel Heroic archetype, but also the space as well. And if you let that go on for too long, you're going to find yourself running out of health really, really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. You see Andrew going to start the turn, Battlefield Marine going into Lauren's base, and here comes K2SO.
That's got to be one of the best cards in the game right now. That card is so good because not only does it have an on-deletion effect, but the fact that the opponent gets to choose and can utilize either of the effects depending on what will benefit him in that situation, that card is very, very good.
Absolutely. You see both players deploying Sabine, and this is where the issue comes in for Lauren. The K2SO, you don't have the energy conversion lab, so K2SO unable to come in, gain ambush, where you see the K2SO coming in, dealing some damage right away.
Yeah, I think, and as we said earlier, Lauren has that extra 5, but having the extra aggression with that Andrew has with ECL could make or break this match. And it's interesting, Andrew already has a bigger ground presence, and we can see in his hand he has 2 of the Green Squadron. That card is going to do a lot of work. Sadly, we don't have the deck list yet, but we will be getting those shortly, so we will, of course, be able to look at these lists. But I'm very interested to see if either of these players or any players today are going to be running Bombing Run, because that is a very good card to help combat aggro, and that obviously if Lauren runs that, he might not necessarily be super eager to start building in space, just because if he does decide to drop it, he can deal with a lot of these space units in one shot. Andrew is in such a good position.
Absolutely. Yeah, Lauren with the initiative. Lauren's got to figure out a way to get control of this ground arena, because right now Andrew is in complete control. 12 damage already on Lauren's base. Andrew with only 4, so Andrew way ahead early.
Yep, 100%. It's got to be a little intimidating too, because obviously as someone who pilots the deck, he understands if this deck gets out of control, this deck can really get out of control. So already having so much damage dealt to him while also facing down such a wide board on both sides has to be intimidating.
Definitely. So you see, Lauren started out the turn with a surprise strike onto K2SO to take out Sabine, but then in response, Andrew, another straight hit to the base with K. We've got 17 damage on Lauren's base.
Coming down. With a
Yeah,
wing leader coming
leader.
to K2SO, it's very interesting because of course you want K2SO to do as much damage as possible, of course. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword because you kind of want him to die in a lot of situations so that you can proc his effect. But at the same time, if you make him too big and make him too much of a threat, obviously there'll be a bigger target on him. And Andrew dropping his own wing leader, these are those space units that putting it on the red, that's so good. Just having access to so many of these good Rebel heroic cards. Yeah, see, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, it's not only Sabine, but just the space units so early on that aggression heroic has access to is just very, very strong.
Absolutely, yeah. So now Andrew has complete control in space, while Lauren was able to kind of stabilize in the ground arena. Andrew, with the wing leader onto red 3, deals another 5 damage, and now just 4 damage away from finishing off this first game.
Yeah, it's almost like that extra 5 life didn't even really matter. It's just he was run down so quickly that honestly he could have an additional 5 more into that, and I think he'd still be in a rough spot.
Yeah, definitely a tough
No one's even
spot.
maxed out yet. Both players are looking at their like seven resources.
Not sure there's a way out of this one for Lauren.
I will say something that's
going to
nice
take out the
about this,
Marine, and
that
that's
is
going
going
to
to
do
be
it.
game. Yeah, that is going to be game. Game 1 will go to Mr. Andrew Dovale. Something that is really nice, because I know that there have been a lot of different formats for this game so far. Not even just in standard constructed, but I know that certain local scenes will jump back and forth depending on how they want to run it, whether it's a best of 1 or best of 3. And today is a best of 3 event, which is really nice, especially because this game does allow you to build in a sideboard. And again, playing against a deck that these players obviously play well enough to bring to an event like this, they know what they're going to have to look for. They know what they're going to have to try and combat. So having a sideboard and the ability to come back, even though you might not do so hot in game 1, is going to be really, really nice and beneficial to both of these players.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this first game we talked about the 5 HP may really make a difference, but we saw there the energy conversion lab, I feel like made the difference, right? It allowed Andrew the
100%.
extra momentum there in the middle of the game. So the energy conversion lab definitely a little bit better than the 5 extra HP for game number 1.
100%. And at one point, it's like, obviously, these effects, all of these bases with effects, they're so good. That's why their HP is less than your standard 30 vanilla base. But it's worth it. And sometimes you think they might have to like make them a little bit less anyway, because like we saw that got out of hand very, very quickly. We haven't even. I'm not sure how long that game was, but that was a very, very quick stream.
It was a really fast game. Andrew got off to a great start and did not take his foot off the gas. It was a great start for him right out of the gate.
Absolutely. I'm very interested as well to see how many players are running aggro today. Just as you know, my personal preference, I am my favorite deck in the game so far is Palpatine Ramp, and I know I personally have a little bit of issue running to aggro, so I'm interested to see if we see any players today that are running the long, grindy game type decks and how they are preparing for the Sabine and other aggression type strategies.
Definitely.
Looks like we're done slide decking.
Ready to go for game 2. Let's see if Lauren can get back into this match here in round 2. Lauren will have the initiative.
And of course, you and I already talked about what we expected to see in this tournament today. Chat, we will be interacting with you guys as well, especially as both of these players and players throughout the day will be, doing their resources, side decking, all those things, and of course in between rounds. So our first question to you, I think, what do you guys expect to do well today, and what do you guys expect to end up winning the event? And for those of you who may not be playing today, what deck would you guys be bringing? And I guess I could turn to you, Josh, and ask you the same question. If you had the opportunity to be there in person today and play the event, what would you feel the most comfortable playing in the hopes that you can do well?
I think I would probably bring Boba Yellow, and just for the simple fact that you did see Sabine Green, the only deck that went 6-0 in Atlanta. I think Boba
True.
Yellow is so good into Sabine, so good into Sabine. So if we
Yeah.
do end up seeing a lot of Sabine, Boba Yellow could be a really good option for this event.
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, Bova anything would be really good for this event.
Definitely. So Lauren starts us out
All
with a
right.
Sabine, and then Andrew with a Battlefield Marine. This is looking awfully similar to the first game.
Yeah.
And then
Almost
one
identical.
damage to
And
each
honestly,
face.
Battlefield Marine is a phenomenal card. I'm glad. Obviously, there's so many cards in this game already in set one that have really very, very strong effects that it doesn't even feel like a set one. It just feels like we're in a very established game with very established archetypes and keywords and actions and everything. So at first, I think a lot of people were surprised by how powerful Battlefield Marine is, but being such a beefy two drop, I think definitely pays for itself and is good in any command rebel playstyle. And as we just saw, it took out his Sabine instantly because Lauren was not able to establish another aspect to give it that extra protection.
Yeah, so right away, Andrew able to take out Lauren's board early once again, and Lauren with the initiative still. We'll see what she's able to do here.
Okay, so we do see the Green Squadron in hand. Yep,
There we go.
yeah, that's probably one of the. As soon as I would draw that in this matchup, I would 100% throw that down. Because if you're the first person who can establish space, not only, we do see the open fire in response. Something that I'm sure Lauren wish he could have done last game against the Red 3. Once your opponent in Leia or in Sabine starts building in space, you do 100% have to address it instantly, or it is going to be chipping away at you very strongly and very consistently throughout the rest of the match. So good on Andrew for making sure. I'm interested to see if he saved that just for a situation like that, if maybe he doesn't have the best hand of space units. But a very, very good play on Andrew's part.
Definitely. Jay Plolly 22 from chat. There was not any actual coverage in Atlanta, but there were some deck lists that were kind of floating around on YouTube and Facebook, the Star Wars
Yep.
Unlimited community Facebook. Yeah.
Which I'm sure is going to be nice. And what's something that's also awesome about Pro Play Games and all of the major Pro Play Games events is after the event, they do always upload the top deck list to their website. So at the end of the event, if you guys are curious about who topped, who did well, and you want to dive into those deck lists, be sure to check out proplaygames.com.
So with the initiative, Lauren deployed Sabine and follows with a Fleet Lieutenant. And then the Sabine had to
That's
go
such a good
into Echo
card.
Base Defender. Yeah, absolutely. Now
Yeah, these decks
Andrew.
have just so much access to so many good cards. The Rebel cards are very good, and it's interesting because as someone who plays a lot of villainy strategies, there are a lot of villainy counterparts to the Rebel cards. Like the Fleet Lieutenant obviously has the Snowtrooper Lieutenant, and we see like a lot of like the same vanillas. We see instead of Wing Leader, there's TIE Advanced. But I think with decks like Sabine and Leia, it just flows. I think a lot smoother than some of the villainy counterparts, and especially with Leia and Sabine being able to play their lieutenants so early on to allow their leaders to attack is just so much power and so much value and just so much aggression. It feels really good.
Yes, it really does. And you see on that last turn, the echo-based defender played a really big role because Sabine had to go into the defender. There was 4 damage on Sabine, and then Andrew was able to take out Lauren's Sabine and keep his on the board.
Good
So,
open fire.
yep, immediate open
Very good open
fire.
fire
Board's
there.
clear.
Very, very good. And something that's really nice too is that even though as good as Sabine is, of course, as a leader and how much pressure she can add once she's a unit on board, Fantasy Flight Game did a very good job in balancing her out. That she can be killed somewhat easily when with almost any removal event, which feels really nice. We do see the winged leader come down, giving the 2 experience tokens to the Rebel Pathfinder, which does have Saboteur. I don't expect there to be many cards with Sentinel in a Cunning Sabine list. Most of the time, your Sentinel cards are going to be in your Command Rebel strategy.
Yeah, another big turn for Andrew, the wing leader, providing a lot of momentum here. Rebel Pathfinder up to a 4/5. And Andrew's going to just keep control of the board, taking out the Leia and then going 2 to base with wing leader.
I'll drop the K2SO, and of course this event is, I believe I know it's at least 130 players, but I believe as we were talking about before the event, they did reach over 145 players, which is of course the biggest North American in-person Star Wars Unlimited event so far. So big ups to everybody over at Pro Play Games, and thank you for putting on such a big event so early on in the game's life. Ooh, absolutely. Interesting. Yeah, so again, something that Green has aspect to is a lot of the single color ambush cards you can throw in either heroic or villainy playstyles, and it just gives that extra aggression. So not only do you have the aggression and control that ECL offers you, but having it just actually have ambush on some of your bigger bodies to be able to control your opponent's board is super, super important in this matchup, because if one of the Sabine players has control and the other one doesn't, it's definitely going to start to get a little out of hand. But it looks like Lauren does have some control in his own regards, playing events to instantly remove his bigger bodies.
Yeah, Andrew just in complete control once again. Was able to immediately take out the K2SO with Steadfast, and then Lauren forced into another open fire situation.
Yeah, but it does look he is kind of running out of options. Having a fleet lieutenant on board with no bodies on board has to feel really bad right now.
Oh, here comes a big play. U-wing reinforcement for Andrew. That is going to load the board right back up just after Lauren was able to remove some of those threats.
He's just going so wide, so well. He's doing a very good job.
So it looks like the U-wing reinforcement brings out the Fighters for Freedom, Spec Force Soldier, and Red 3, and that allows Andrew to deal a couple more damage off of the Fighters for Freedom.
That card is so absurd. I'm hoping that we get to see Andrew has saved a couple of aggression units, because as soon as they is it aggression or rebel? I think it's rebel, isn't it? Where it's it does the damage every time something's played with that aspect.
It's
that
aggression.
Card's gonna do a ton. It is aggression. Yeah, that card's gonna do a lot of
aggression
damage
card. You get to deal an extra damage. So yeah, it's definitely going to put in some work today, I'm sure.
100%. I think that's definitely one of those cards that you almost want to see first. That and K2SO, if you can establish that before your opponent, you're going to be in a really good spot.
Lauren in a really tough spot. Just played the Fleet Lieutenant. Nothing on the board. So
yeah,
here comes
really
the bad. Asteroid Sanctuary.
Asteroid Sanctuary, yep.
Fighters.
And also being able to beef up Fleet Lieutenant doesn't feel the worst, but at this point, it's almost like Fleet Lieutenant was a vanilla body that came in because he really couldn't get full value out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think at this point, he just kind of has to start building a board. And Lauren's already 3 health left. Oh, this feels really bad.
Yeah, now just 2 damage away. Here comes Bright Hope.
The Bright Hope. Bounce it back.
That'll be another damage off of Fighters for Freedom.
And then Sabine for game. Oh, Sabine very well played. That was a finish. Amazing That was a phenomenal play. Andrew saw that he was only 2 damage away from winning. He had Fighters for Freedom established, so having the bright hope to be able to bounce something back and then play something to trigger Fighters for Freedom, and then of course Sabine's insane, unstoppable leader ability to allow her to proc it and swing it for game is, I think, honestly, one of the best aspects and perfect time to use her, because your opponent can stop you with sentinels. They can suspend down your things to stop attacking you, but no one can stop Sabine. If they have the ability to do it, as soon as you're put on 29, that's basically game. And he saw that and was able to play perfectly into it. Not only was he 1 away, he was 2 away and still was able to drop it down. I think Andrew is going to do very, very well in this tournament. And I think we'll see a lot of players today who know these decks like the back of their hands, and it's going to make for a really, really fun watch.